I guess that tells you that we're not in a precious metals bull market. Whenever gold outperforms, that tells me we're not in the fun zone yet.
Well, hello there, my friends. Chris Marcus here with you for Arcadia Economics as we continue our coverage into the silver world. And for today's show, excited because we have David Stein of Kuya Silver checking in live from the PDAC conference up in Toronto, where there's a gathering of a lot of the miners, industry experts, and analysts and investors. So nice to have David live on the scene there and give us an update of how things are looking and what people are talking about. So that said, David, a pleasure as always to have you back on the show. And how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing great. It's nice to have PDAC back here and back in March like it's supposed to be, because last year they rescheduled it, and it's a big conference. I'll sort of introduce it to all the listeners out there in a second, but it's a big conference and the attendance looks great. Very, very busy here, and so that's exciting.
Yeah, well, it's been a couple of years since I've been there, but had a good time. It was right before COVID was shutting down when I was there, and certainly one of the bigger conferences out there. And as we are recording on Monday, we have a silver price just right around $21. Obviously, they have a lot of different metals and commodities they are covering over at PDAC, but curious just with the people that you've been talking with, and what is the tone? How are people looking at silver? Is there still a sense of frustration that we had last year? We did have that rally towards the end of the year. Prices come back in a little bit, but just curious from the people you're talking with, what is the general tone around the silver market this year at the conference?
Obviously, at $21, people are not like super excited about that kind of a price, but it's also better than the lows of 2022. Quite a bit better. So kind of in a bit of a no man's land here, where I think a lot of people are thinking, are really unsure of which way it's going to go. I think you and I think it should be going higher, and that's obviously, an exciting opportunity maybe for later this year. But yeah, right now it's a little bit, it's a little bit neutral. Could be a lot better, but it's not so bad either, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. Are people, as I would imagine, to some degree, still just waiting on the Fed, which ever since we started the interest rate hikes last year has really been the main focus of a lot of what's going on in the market, not just silver, but is that for the most part what you hear, that it's a lot of attention on when and the Fed is going to stop hiking, how high and far they will go, that people are holding off on until they know more?
Yeah, I think that is the case. That is a big issue, Chris, is we're seeing the price of gold and silver, react quite a bit depending on what the mood is around future interest rate hikes or not. And, and definitely, we all focus on the US dollar silver price. But I think if you look at the silver price in some other currencies, it's been doing actually quite well, because the US dollar has been very strong. So pricing, silver and gold in other currencies, you're getting a very, very good price, which, which to me, that's a good sign that the fundamentals of the sector are strong and they're strengthening. And then at some point, the pivot will happen, the US dollar will crack, and then you'll really see silver and gold take off, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's interesting because as we've talked about quite a bit before, gold not really getting hammered too badly these days, right around the 1850 mark, and silver still on its lower end. Again, are you surprised that we've seen gold perform as well as it has in the current environment, even though we have silver seemingly lagging quite a bit?
Well, I guess that tells you that we're not in a precious metals bull market. Whenever gold outperforms, that tells me we're not in the fun zone yet. So, gold and silver typically do move together in terms of the direction, but when we're in a true bull market, silver will outperform gold, by between 1.5 and 2 to 1 in terms of percentage move. And we're not seeing that right now. We've definitely, since, when was it? I guess May of last year, when the Fed hikes started happening, we've been in a bit of a mini bear market, I guess. So we still seem to be in that, at least in terms of sentiment. And I think the gold silver ratio is a sentiment indicator. That's how I look at it. It's a sentiment indicator on the precious metals. When people are bullish, that number is going to go way down. And, obviously that's great for silver and silver investors.
Yeah, it certainly will be fun to watch when that does happen. Again, not been the easiest last year or so on the silver side. David, perhaps you could show us again, maybe as you walk around a little bit, some of what's going on there. Give people an idea of some of the booths and how that's laid out and set up. And I'm curious, what kind of companies are you seeing there? Obviously, a lot of the mining companies, investment companies, but what is it that you're running into and some of the people you're talking to give people an idea at home what is going on at the conference?
So I wanted to start our call here, Chris, because I'm right in the sort of the border between two different events that happen at the same time. So the PDAC, why is it such a big event? Why does it have 20,000 plus people coming every year? One of the reasons is because it's really two events in one. It's a really big investors event called the Investors Exchange. You can see that sign, the black and white sign up ahead. And then it's also a trade show, which is the more kind of technical side for the geologists, mainly geologists and engineers. And so on the Investors Exchange, you're going to have hundreds of companies with booths. And to answer your question, Chris, you literally have the gamut from the biggest mining companies in the world will have booths like Newmont, Barrick, Rio Tinto, etc. And then you have everything down to tiny companies as well. There's even a space for individual prospectors to go out and try and sell their properties, and then show their rocks on display that they have. So there's really everything. And then on the trade show side, you've got companies that perform services for the mining industry, like drillers. You've got governments like Australia, Canada, etc., who are trying to promote mineral exploration because it's a good money maker for a government to have people coming in and spending money in their country. And then you also have other consulting and service companies, that kind of thing, there as well. So yeah, so that's kind of the lay of the land in terms of the show. You can see there's a lot of people here. I'm going to start walking into the Investors Exchange.
Okay.
And I had an idea to hit some of the silver highlights. But you can see there's so many booths and stuff. And I'll show you one kind of special zone here as well in a minute. But first, you can see I've got the first Majestic booth right in front of me there.
I see Todd.
There's Todd Anthony. That's right. Actually, Keith is even here.
Yeah, all right.
You see Keith there?
I see.
So
in the
normally CEOs actually don't actually stand at the booth. So that's very down to earth of him. Normally they just have their corp dev IR people here, but anyway, Keith is communing with the people today, so that's really cool. Let's go. It's another booth I'm going to go to that's kind of a little different. Anyway, actually the core shack is right here, so I wanted to show you the core shack. So every year, you can see the core shack sponsored by Barrick. So in here, when mining companies drill, or exploration companies, they get they get these core pieces. And so this is a special section of the show where they get to show off their core, you know, show the minerals and alteration and all that good stuff that you're looking for here. And you got a geologist there. So anyway, so this is kind of a unique thing. And you know, you will see pour at booths as well at company booths, but this is a place dedicated for this. And they change the companies here every day. So every day is a different group of companies. All right, so that's the core shack. And see, these guys have core too, and they're not even in the core shack. So
certainly seems like quite a crowd they have there this year.
Yeah, so this is the only reason why there's fewer people in this row. This is the very edge of the show. So I think these are maybe the booths that they want to hide from people. I don't know. All right, so we're gonna go to another booth. Hey, there's Silver Corp. So there's a silver company. They are kind of tucked in here and there in the midst of the lithium and gold companies that dominate the PDAC this year. I mean, gold always dominates. About half the listed companies in you know, in Canada are exploring for gold, or are gold miners. There's BHP, one of the biggest mining companies in the world. So see, they have a nice booth. They get extra space because they can afford it.
Yeah.
So.
And all the lithium guys look pretty good right now.
They do. Just until just as long as they don't have to mine it, it's they're in good shape. All right. Am I in the right row here? No, there it is. This is what I was looking for. Got the Sprott Money booth. So we got some real bullion here.
Okay. Good to see
right.
Sprott Money there with some gold and silver.
What's that?
1.3
Always
million.
good to see Sprott there with
Canadian dollars? US? Okay, $1 million US in just the gold, or including these coins? Just the gold there. Okay. All right. Isn't that cool?
Nice,
all right. They got
have
more
there.
stuff here. And you can buy those. So there's their prices. So actually they're the only bullion dealer that I found in the show this year. On the trade show side, there is like a jewelry person that's got like gems and gold jewelry and stuff, which is a little different. But you know, there's always stuff like that. But it is mostly you know, mostly what you see in front of you. You know, we got palladium, we got, I don't know what they do, graphite, everything. So anyway.
And in terms of
anywhere else you want to, if you have any requests, Chris, let me know.
Well, I guess the one thing I wanted to ask you is, in terms of silver in particular, are you seeing new companies there? Because I guess along the lines, I'm wondering what the prospects of new investment and new projects coming online on silver are right now. Obviously, not the easiest price environment, and add that into the deficit in the market that we're experiencing. Is there much activity in terms of people launching new projects or anything like that you're seeing there?
There was a bit of a push in 2021 with a lot of new companies that came into the market throughout that year. And then I think, you know, 2022 and beyond, and, you know, and this year so far, I'm not seeing too many new companies because we haven't had a very good market, right? Not just the silver price, but also what's even to be more important, to be honest, is the equity market. You know, are the share prices giving, you know, the right valuation to these silver exploration and, you know, and development companies? And if they're not, there's no reason to take them public. And, you know, and so we're, you know, I haven't seen very much in the way of new companies recently, let's say in the last 12 to 15 months. In terms of what it means for new production, I think things are not really getting financed right now in terms of production, new production. And if they are, it's happening very slowly, much more slowly than companies would project, right? So that's why production numbers always miss estimates, because companies tend to be too optimistic as to how quickly they can get production on, and as a result, the supply never grows as fast as people might think in their models, or in theory.
Yeah, that makes sense. That was actually something else I wanted to ask you about, which was how things are looking on the financing side. So appreciate what you're saying there. And in terms of production and also demand, interesting. This note came out a couple of weeks ago, but Silver Institute actually revised their deficit, which they had been projecting 194 million ounce deficit in 2022. That number is actually up to 253 million ounces, which already was a big number, now even a little bit bigger. And again, they are forecasting a 119 million ounce deficit in 2023. Is that something that people are talking about there? Does that come up in conversations, whether with the mining side or the investors? Or obviously, I look at it quite a bit, and people like you and I, we talk about it quite a bit, but is that something that many other people are thinking about?
So it sort of comes up in the same breath as the strong industrial demand for silver, and all the applications that silver will be used in, or is already being used in, with clean energy, etc. And also the monetary or investment demand for silver. So I think we can all agree that the fundamentals for silver look really good, and then it's a matter of we look at the price and go, well, why is the price only $21, right? And I think people, especially people who know the industry really well, are aware of that deficit. But what it means, I mean, I think it's hard to get excited about it until you start seeing something happen in the price.
I can understand that, and that's why I wonder if we run into some sort of issue that eventually forces movement in the price. Again, another thing I know people have heard about, but this was from Silver Institute's latest report. Australian study shows that approximately 85 to 98% of the current global silver reserves could be consumed by solar panels by the time we hit 2050. And we won't go through the whole thing, but left and right, everything we see between the green movement and electrification of things, calling for more silver. And as you and I briefly discussed before we started, turns out silver can even make poultry waste less dangerous to people, chickens, and the environment. And these chickens here look like they're appreciating the great virtues of silver as well. So I hear what you're saying, where it is an odd environment where the price is sitting just above cost of production, yet we see a deficit already, growing demand going forward. Makes you wonder how all these things shake out. And interesting here, there are some people talking about it there, and perhaps that's just one of those things that time will sort out. And like you mentioned before, I think also with the interest rates still being hiked, it makes it a little bit harder, although makes you wonder what happens whenever we do reach the end of the interest rate hikes, and especially start some cutting. So we'll be stunning to see how that looks when it all goes down.
It's bad for supply, right? For when people want to build new mines, especially the mines that are really going to make an impact on supply. You're talking, the bigger mines that can produce, 10 million ounces of silver a year. They're going to have to borrow a lot of money to do that, typically. And, the higher interest rates really hurt those financing or they raised financing costs a lot. So that's another thing that, I would imagine will impact supply.
Well, we'll be wild to see how it shakes out going forward. Again, sometimes reminds me of the dynamics we saw in the housing market leading up to 2007, 2008, where I think people were assuming things are only going to go in one direction and things like that build until they do become a problem. And we shall see if that's how things, perhaps in the inverse direction, ultimately unfold in silver. Although, David, before we wrap up, perhaps you could give us an update of how things are coming along with Kuya right now.
We announced a few weeks ago a toll milling agreement with one of the mills in our neighborhood, and we're really just setting up the commercial agreements that we need to look at going back into production there, which we think will be a good way to de-risk the operation, get some cash flow, and prepare for a bigger project down the road when we're ready to build our own mill, which, by the way, is fully permitted. So that's kind of what's happening at Bethania, which is really good. And then, we also are drilling at our Silver Kings project in Northern Ontario. So we were able to get that project going this year. We didn't do much on it last year, but very excited. We've got some really good targets. We think we're going to find some silver and cobalt there. And we're, as I said, we're drilling it now. And so we should have some results in the next, 1.5 months or so.
Well, that's certainly good to hear. I know that you've been doing a lot of work there and moving things forward. So great to see that you're continuing the drilling. One question about the toll milling, anything about the timeline that you can pass along there? I know it's something you recently announced, but any idea of a potential timeline?
Yeah. So when we do have all of the agreements we need in place, and then I think from that point on, which could be in a few months, we need, the big thing we need is we need to be able to sell our concentrate to someone. So that's an offtake agreement. So that's something we're looking to do in the next few months. And then from there, you're looking at, kind of 4 to 6 months, it will be in production.
Well,
So
congratulations.
it could be later this year for sure. Later this year would be the target. Exactly what month, not sure yet, but it should be later this year. It's very, very soon. We're in a very good position that we've got something that can be done in a matter of months, not years. And that's very different. That's something that's very different about Kuya.
Well, congratulations on that. I know you've put a lot of work into getting to that point and now finally can see the light at the end of the tunnel on getting into production. So, David, perhaps before we wrap up, you could just let folks know if they have questions, would like to reach you, what is the best way to do so?
The best way I'd suggest is you come to our website, www.kuyasilver.com, and go to the contact tab, and there's a few ways to contact us there. It's got our social media on there, as well as you can contact us directly by email.
All right. Well, again, you can find that at kuyasilver.com. And David, appreciate you joining us live from PDAC to give people a flavor of the show and some of the things that are going on there. Again, congratulations on the progress you're making at Kuya, and we'll look forward to checking in with you again soon, hopefully with a higher silver price, but we'll just follow what happens and keep digging in and making the best out of it that we can.
Yeah, we're in a good space, Chris. It's just a matter of time. And I'm happy we could do this. It's always nice to do something a little different. So this was fun.
Well, I appreciate that, David. You go have fun at the show, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thanks, Chris.